Well, with me here in Westminster is Nigel Inkster, former Assistant Chief of the Secret Intelligence Service, now Director of Transnational Threats at the International Institute for Strategic Studies. Welcome to you.
Thank you.
I suppose the first question has to be, how confident are we that this man has been killed?
Well, there have been reports in the past that al-Awlaki had been killed, and these proved to have been somewhat exaggerated. But as I understand it now, US officials are beginning to confirm that this may indeed have happened. I think if it was simply the Yemeni government's word that we had to take for it, we would have to remain somewhat sceptical.
At the time of the 9/11 anniversary a few weeks ago, quite a lot of experts were saying that he was possibly the most dangerous man in the wider Al-Qaeda family, in the sense that he spoke fluent English, he was very popular on the internet and very good at getting the message out.
That's all undoubtedly true, but I think we need to understand that he was part of a movement, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, which has a number of very strategically minded and capable leaders, and without that enabling framework, I'm not sure that al-Awlaki would have been able to make as much impact as he undoubtedly has done.
Was he also, as Emma was saying there, do you think directly involved in the planning of things like the Fort Hood attack and the underpant bomber? And
I'm not sure how directly he was involved in the logistics and specifics of planning these attacks, but what al-Awlaki undoubtedly did have a genius for was promoting the Al-Qaeda message on the one hand and grooming individuals via the internet on the other hand.
And what he also did was, if I can put it this way, he sort of advocated kind of homegrown terrorism, not very complex things like 9/11.
Absolutely. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is promoting this strategy of 1,000 cuts, small scale acts which of themselves not particularly important, but aggregated up would have a significant effect. And al-Awlaki was part of that, saying essentially to people, don't imagine you have to receive specialist training, do what you can with the resources at your disposal.
Now, do you think this has happened just because the Americans have been after him and they had a clear window, or does it in any way relate to the unrest in the Yemen and indeed the wider unrest now in the Arabian Peninsula?
Well, I think that if the death proves to be true, it's likely that the Americans were responsible for it, because they have been trying very hard to target al-Awlaki for some time. But it takes place against a wider backcloth of instability in Yemen, which looks as if it risks fracturing along a multiplicity of different fault lines. We've got the government, we've got Islamists, we've got southern separatists, we've got a democracy movement, disaffected elements of the Yemeni military, all fighting it out in conditions of considerable uncertainty.
Do you think there is also a message, perhaps to Saudi Arabia and perhaps to some of the other Gulf states? One thinks of Bahrain, that they have got to sort these things out, or Western pressure will continue?
Well, I think that Saudi Arabia have they've managed to control their Islamist, their jihadist movement quite effectively. But, of course, there are underlying social pressures here which are not going to go away, and left unattended will increase. So I think more thought is going to have to be given in this particular area of the Arab world as to how the rising expectations of their populations can be met.
Now, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, is a sort of offshoot within this network. Is it, in your view, probably the most sort of outstanding, dangerous aspect of Al-Qaeda today? I mean, is Yemen the centre of the trouble?
I don't think that Al-Qaeda has gone away yet in terms of its presence in Pakistan, although it's clearly under continuing and very severe pressure. But yes, I would guess that at the moment that Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is probably the most cohesive, coherent and salient manifestation of this movement that there is at the moment.
Is it also fair to say that under this president, Barack Obama, I mean, he may not be getting credit or recognition for it at home, but we are seeing, the toughest, most concerted pursuit of al-Qaeda figures yet.
Yes, if anybody thought that Barack Obama was going to be a soft touch in this area, then I think they will have had to revise their thinking. The decision to undertake the raid against Osama bin Laden's compound in Abbottabad was, I think, indicative of the determination that we're seeing from this president.
And what about British involvement? Is Britain part of this?
I have no idea whether the UK had anything to do with this particular attack against al-Awlaki. I rather suspect not.
Nigel Inkster, thank you very much indeed.